because it's what everyone's talking about right now. And basically, so it's like, we kind of talked about it last week, but it's sort of like this thing that like I think white people are having to come to terms with, which is similar to the Nazis, which is like it's not like this was secret data. I knew the statistics for like a long time, but it's easier to ignore it. And that's what our sin is, or that's what we're going to all have to carry with us. It doesn't matter. You always will have that. It won't go anywhere. That's always going to be on your back until you die, period. It doesn't mean like, it doesn't mean that you're Jeffrey Dahmer. It doesn't mean you're Adolf Hitler. But, if you're looking at like the scales, and on one side you have oppression and on one side you have fighting against oppression, if you didn't say anything, you know what part of the goddamn scale you landed on if you knew the data, which I think we did, right? Yeah. So what it comes down to is like, like if you're eating meat, you either have to just be like, I just want to fucking eat meat because I like it. I know I'm killing animals and I'm going to eat meat. And or you start doing this crazy shit where you start thinking like, well, animals aren't quite the same as me, so it's okay for me to eat them. Yeah. So if you want to ethically oppress people, what do you have to do? You either have to say, I am an oppressive being, a Machiavellian being, like Genghis Khan or something, and I believe that my power is going to be used to dominate people around me until they become subservient to me, and I do that because I'm a fucking monster. Or you have to kind of like, because you feel bad about it, you have to think, well, I'm not quite sure they're like me, right? And then that's where you start running into, right? That's where you run into like the entire history of oppression. Again, fuck me for even acting like I'm like an expert because I interviewed Makad Brooks. He just taught this to me. This is one of the things I do. Someone will say like 8 things to me and I act like I'm a fucking university professor. He was breaking it down for me. Like what happened was like, anyway, that there was basically a campaign by this monstrous pirate who wanted to sell slaves, and people were killing themselves who were on the ships. And so they had to come up with a way to like make Africa seem like it was I'm sorry, y'all know this, man. I mean,
no, dude, go on.
I feel like, well, basically like he was telling me, it's like, so the idea was turn Africa into like the dark, savage continent when Europeans were sending their kids there to study in Timbuktu. It was like an advanced society. And then the other thing was to sort of create this idea using phrenology, eugenics, insane conceptualizations of Black people as being subhuman, and therefore you can oppress them because they're not like us. And then that was like an intellectual approach to intellectualize oppression, which leads all the way up to somebody, saying shit like that, which sounds kind of scientific, but you listen to it and it's no different.
Yeah.
The exact same shit that they were saying back when they were fucking selling people. It's the same shit to justify human trafficking. Well, you know how it is over there. Let's
right.
That's why it's insidious, dangerous, and fucked up. I'm glad Rogan pushed back against it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was just ridiculous stuff that was being said. I was just like, okay, like, wait a sec. I don't know. Like I feel like having a talk with a person like that face to face. Like, I want you to look me in my eye and believe what you're saying right now.
Right.
Because it's just like, come on, man. That's not cool. That's not right. And people are listening. I saw it said 1.3 million people have already like viewed the video. It's like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Like, god damn, man.
Yeah,
Come
man.
on.
Yeah, that's fucked. That guy sounds like a real motherfucker, man. We got to watch out for those evolutionary biologists, man. You got to be careful because, like, it's a slippery slope. Eugenics is real. It's a slippery slope where people like just really want to.
So, what, Brad?
I wonder what that was like to be programmed with that idea that this group of people is less than, but then to physically see what they're doing outside and it doesn't add up. You know what I mean? Like, wait a minute, something ain't right about this. And then maybe that comes to another justification or some other stupid excuse as to why that might be. Like, oh, well, it's because they're, you know, off put. So it just gives them like these, I don't know, special needs powers, which sounds like a really messed up thing to say, but it's already a messed up way of thinking to begin with. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
I mean, man, like this is what we're all having to deal. Like we're all having to like. It's almost like American history is like somebody coming out of like the worst alcoholic blackout. Right? We're all in like those first few seconds when you start waking up and you're like, what is this? Fuck did I do? Oh man, that's what we did. And then if you're a shitty alcoholic, as you're waking up, you try to justify it. You're like, well, I mean, the reason I fucking hit the bouncer was because he looked at my girl weird or something like that. And like, I think that's what we're gonna see is a lot of like really embarrassing apologetics. That my hope is everyone who's watching, people like anybody who's defending that fucking cop, or anybody who's trying to come up with some kind of like evolutionary biologist explanation for oppression of black people. Like I hope that it's not met with anything more than the conversation we're having, you know, because I have to watch out for that. You got to watch out for that, man. Because people like that, what's next? So it's like the idea is, okay, so, well, you know, we don't want there to be a mob deciding this shit. And also I'm kind of saying a little bit like, you know, black people maybe kind of just based on what I understand about science. I'm not saying am I saying that it's very good? Is that what I'm saying? I don't know. But maybe a little, but am I kind of saying that? Yeah, it's like that.
Oh, like what do you do to combat that? I need a broadsword to that. Like what is the broadsword to that?
I don't know, man. That's the scary thing, because a dummy hears that who's desperately trying to find some way to evade the uncomfortable feeling that many of us white people are feeling right now. And a dumb person hears that shit and is like, well, there it is. Honey, come here. Got an evolutionary biologist out of here. See, we're kind of right. What were we right about? I don't know, but everything's okay, right? It's fine. Right. And that's the to me, that's where you run into the problem, man. You know, and the sick thing is that dude, he believes it. That's what's really fucked up, because he, in his mind, he thinks he's so fucking intelligent. But like, why is it that these motherfuckers are always taking the side of the fucking cops? Why are they bootlicking? That's what I want to know. What is the use in bootlicking? That's the name for them. They're bootlickers. They're bootlickers. Yeah. First of all, this fucker, like, again, I didn't watch the thing. It's not fair. And I was already angry at somebody who wasn't even him. But like this guy, he like, number one, one of the things he's saying is, well, you know, the American justice system is perfect. You know, like that's one of the things he's saying. Like the whole, like the system even fucking works at all.
Yeah.
I think that's that fear that, oh, this is the only thing that physically feels like protection to me. And if you somehow take that away, now, oh man, I'm going to judgment hall for all of my actions, all of these bad views, all of these bad deeds, all of these secret, dirty ass thoughts. They're coming from me. And all that fear is like then projected out into, you know, trying to protect something that you don't even believe in yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. You know, we're and it's just like, what is it about? Like, you know, the same thing when it comes to when Philando Castile got killed, and where's the NRA to like say something, to like come to one of their own defense? And it was just like crickets. And it's like, they say don't blame race, but it's just like, what other factor do I have? You know, what other thing do I have?
Well, they're not going to give you they're not going to give us the tools. They're not like, you're never going to hear from the oppressor. They're not going to educate you in a way that helps you fight them. Like anything they say is going to be like designed to confuse, to ignore, to that's just the way it is. You get
it you know, just to take it to kind of what we talked about last week, Man in Search Of, right? Like I started checking it out, like looking at the beginning of it, and one part really struck me, no pun intended, but he talked about a guard knocking him out in jail or hitting him in jail, and he thought to himself, like, you know, it's not even that the blows actually hurt, it's the injustice and the senselessness that is so obvious that really hurts, that really just fucking tears you apart, man. And that mentally is more damaging than the physical damage that you could go through in any situation, really. Like, I don't know, man. That book is very hard to get through.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. It's very hard, and I think it's probably really hard for you right now reading it. It's probably like reading that book right now is like, but that's one of the things, you know, that's one of, I mean, do you think there is a fair comparison between what has been happening to Black people in this country since its inception and a genocide? Do you think that's a fair thing to say, that what was happening is some form of prolonged genocide?
Yeah, I think that's the difference right there. It's like one just sort of like was like a mass moment in time, but this has been like a stretch out. Like, it's so interesting to see this. Like, I don't know if you all seen that picture of the timeline of from when the first slave hit Jamestown to like now, and it's like it's not that long. It's not that long, but it is a long 300 years. A long fucking time. It's a long time.
Let me tell you, man, we would like it to be a lot longer than it was. But I think that's one of the things Chappelle brought up is like, it is not that long. I mean, look, here's an embarrassing thing to say, that for some reason I felt the desire not to talk about this. And I don't, out of like a sense, it's really, okay, I grew up in the South, man. And well, I can remember like my cousin, she married a Black guy and had a baby, this beautiful baby. And I'm sitting in the backyard of my grandmother's house, playing with the baby, running the grass with the baby. And my grandmother wouldn't pick the baby up. You know, man, like that was my grandma. That was the woman who I love to this day. I love her. I'll never stop loving her. That was my grandmother. But what the fuck, right? Like that's real. That's in my family, like a disease. That's in it like a temporal disease. And I've witnessed it firsthand because I grew up in the South. I saw it. It's real. It is infectious. And
how did you get away from it?
That's a good question.
Well, I'll tell you, man. Like, did I get away from it? I don't know. My wife and I have been talking about this. Like, I think that's the other thing is it's kind of like, well, I would love to say, well, you see, the way I got away from it was through a meditation practice or some noble virtue in me. But the truth of the matter is, man, I don't know that I'll ever completely get away from it, because from the moment I was born, that's what I was born into. That's like, and epigenetically, it might be in my fucking DNA, man. Like it might be like in there somehow. I don't know.
And so here's the thing where I feel like the side of a fence where I come from or whatever, like that's the same thing. And when you're trying to like get from this place of like, all right, everybody is labeling and judging where I'm from like this hard pressed place that like nobody can come from, right? But it actually, I think you can get away from it, but like you don't have to like leave it behind. You can move forward, and you can always have a hand back. That is a helping hand. That is a inspirational hand. But you don't have to keep yourself in one place. But it's like that sort of opposite thing of like people don't feel like they can get away from where they're from in trying to like drudge up to something, you know?
Well, there's shame, man. It's shame. I mean, I've got to deal with the shame of it. You know, it's like it's shame. I want to protect my dad. I want to protect my grandmother. You know, I want them to be perfect beings living forever in time as these perfect beings. But man, there's no other word for what they were than racist. And like maybe my grandmother was like a little more, it was like it was more of like, I guess you could say like a kind of like unspoken thing. And my dad, it wasn't so unspoken. But that, I think, you know, when we're talking about reparations, money is like the easiest thing. We're talking about a kind of like, you know, I've got to deal with. Do you all believe in curses?
I was told by a woman in a hotel that my family line was cursed, and that the only way I would be able to clean that curse was if I brought certain crystals to her hotel room, and she could like do a special prayer for me because she felt that I was I was worthy in some kind of way.
Wow. Okay. But did you believe that?
I never thought about it before. It fucking planted a seed in my head that what if my fucking family? I don't know.
That was probably the curse.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't. I mean, we know epigenetics is real. We know that like DNA encodes. Like,
I think about why my life is the way that it is, and it's my grandmother was schizophrenic. Like she. The relationship we have with my grandfather is not a fairy tale relationship. You know what I mean? It brought my mother along. My mother went through what she had to go through to get to me. And that kind of thing is just like, whoa, what, like, I don't know. Some of that shit sounds cursed to me. Now that you mention it, but I don't know if I believe in it or not.
Well, it's like, it's an interesting thing to think about in the sense of like, we are right now, us and our children, I guess you could say, are the peak of the wave of our genetic line. Like, think of all the people that survived so that you could be here. All the people who managed to reproduce, absolutely. Right? And those people, a lot of those people are gone. And I've heard a scary thing about what happens when you die. When you talk to people who've had near-death experiences, one of the things they say that happens is they say the life review, and like you remember everything that happened to you in your life, but you don't just remember everything that happened to you. You feel the way you affected everyone around you, and you feel it in like a moment. So like how you were making people feel around you, that is the like one of the moments of justice, which is like, so if you were a kind person and you were compassionate most of your life, that's what you would feel, is the sense that people had of like joy being in your presence. But if you were someone who was an asshole, and then you're going to experience the way you hurt everyone around you and the way you hurt the people around them. And so anyway, if you think about that, and if we come from people who did wrong and were unjust, and if our ancestors are guilty of ignorance and hurting and murder, then really, man, that's in us, right? There's a direct connection into the past, like a time machine genetically to those people. And I don't know a better word for it than like cursed. Like a fucking curse. And then so the question is like, I think what reparations represents is not just financial compensation for people whose ancestors were forced to work or kidnapped But also, I think it's like saying, like, listen, we've got to make this right. Not just on our side either, on both sides. Like, we got to find a way to really, like, let's do it so that our fucking kids don't have to deal with this shit. To me, that's what reparations means. Is there a way that black people and white people can fucking do this so that we can really be together without this massive racist human trafficking elephant in our living room? That's the question. Is it possible? And if it is, what the fuck does that look like?
Right. Well, I think if it has to be something bigger than just, you know, white and black, because like how we're interacting with each other right now, that's not a white and black issue. So for a long time, you see a lot of white and black people have that common ground and community and communication with one another. But it's that evil, insecure, fragile, racist man and woman that hates everybody.
Right.
But that seems to be like some type of mental virus that not only is, you know, primarily, you know, you see it in a lot of the white community, but where did that seed come from, you know? And what is that cycle? But I think that's the thing that we have to get rid of, is that idea. Because I realize for me, it's not a people thing, it's that mentality. And I don't know where that little piece of child, that hurt child that's running rampant in this quote unquote white supremacist group, but that's what it is. It's like little boys crying out, you know, because they feel insecure, and they've created so many different ideas to program us or convince us to believe in or perpetuate the same type of illusion that they're giving out. So we've created these walls against one another. It's almost like it's everything in the physical right now is a representation of what's going on inside of us as the human. And we've been going through this whole long period of trauma. And if we want to use, you know, go into alchemy, we've been going through this putrefaction, but maybe it took different chemicals to create this concoction, you know what I mean? And that's what we're seeing being played out, but in the form of, you know, being torn down in order to be built back up. But that humanity failed at some point, all of us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how did the whole world get colonized by some white folks?
I don't know. But might I just say this here? Let me say something here, though. With what you just said, we failed. I don't think. Here's the thing, man. You know, okay. So, like, one of the victims of abuse. If you're a victim of abuse, like if you're a kid and like your parents are alcoholic, if you're abused, you'll try in your mind to come up with a reason that you did something wrong and therefore you deserve the abuse, because it's easier to imagine, like a little kid, to imagine, oh, it's because I put crayons on the wall. That's why dad punched me in the face and threw my mom down the stairs. Than to deal with the fact that the first man you encountered in this dimension is a fucking asshole. It's easier to think you're the one who did it. You take the weight of it into your little heart because it's easier to believe that than you live in a world where dads can actually be crazy and evil. So I think what you just said, man, it's like, I think it could be that we're looking at a thing that is like, it didn't get fixed. That's one thing I know. One thing I know is it didn't get fixed. It didn't get fixed. It's not fixed. We like to think it got fixed. It didn't get fixed. We did spiritual bypass. We imagined because of the civil rights movement. We imagined because of Martin Luther King. Well, I know. I have a dream. The universe arts. What the universe bends in the direction of justice. Therefore, we're fine, right? Everything's fine. But man, I told you last week, until right now, I didn't know what this day meant. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know it until just now. So I think that
but that was a lot of people. I mean, because to my understanding, it just started in like 1980. Like it became like the first time it got recorded as a holiday for like in Texas, right? So then like they started following up after that. But I wasn't too much. I was probably like what 20, 21 when I found out, and I was just like, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah,
I think I was in my late 20s. But the funny thing is, for me, I grew up celebrating the holiday in May, on May 28th, because I'm from Alabama, and that's when we moved out. And so, but nobody ever taught me specifically that this is what this celebration is. So I grew up celebrating our own independence, in May, and then later they traveled down to Texas the next month and give the news to, that last group in Texas. But yeah, I was pretty ignorant of it until, very recent. And that's so funny. How does that happen, man? Like, how something so simple that's so obviously out there is.
There you go, man. That's the thing right there. That to me, that's the thing right there is like, damn, like they did a really fucking great job, didn't they? They did a good job of just making it seem like everything's fine. No, we worked it all out, but this is the problem. It's like you look at the data and it's like, okay, but why are black people being arrested more than white people? Why are there more black people in prison? And why are these black people being forced to work for free? That's the thing that no one wants to really, that to me is like the thing that we have to look at. That's one of the main things. You got to look at that because there's, one of two possibilities. One of them is the one the Nazis would like you to believe. And the other one is we didn't fix it yet. It's not fixed as long as that's happening. It's not fixed. You can't say that there isn't slavery in the United States of America if you have prisoners who are black who are being arrested more than white people who are being made to work for free today. Today.
It's the same.
And nobody wants to deal with that, man. You know what? In families where I don't mean to keep bringing up families where there's abuse, but in other forms of oppression, if you got someone who is a pedophile in a family, sometimes it's allowed to continue because to address it is to destroy the entire family.
Yeah.
So when fucking Weinstein is saying shit like, this will take down America, it's like,
yeah,
it might.
It might. Yeah.
Yeah. Mob justice, mob. Y'all are a mob. That's what he's saying. He's saying it's a mob. You got to watch the language, right? It's a mob. I'm a mob because I think that motherfucker should go to jail or be executed, just like everybody else who suffocates people, serial killers, anybody else. I'm a mob because I think that. You're a mob because you think that. That's mob justice. That's justice. That's just justice, plain and simple. Yeah. It's just obvious justice. But Weinstein, what did he call us? If you think Chauvin should go to jail, well, you're a mob, aren't you? You're just a mob. You're an unthinking, crazy mob. That's why you got to watch out for those hypnotic motherfuckers, because that's what he's saying is you're not really coherent. You're irrational. You're just a mob, like around Count Dracula's castle with the torches. That's what you are. It's a mob.
Yeah, that's what Candace Owens has been doing. Yeah, like kind of gaslighting and putting things out there to piss people off and get money on top of it. You know what I mean? Like people got to get paid, and they found a way to get money through pissing people off. What you say?
Gross. That's so gross. Talk about alchemy. Talk about making money off of putrefaction. Just fucking bringing in that putrefaction dollar, man. Capitalizing on it.
Yeah.
Do you know a lot about alchemy?
Not too much.
Do you study it? I've never even heard that putrefaction. What is that?
So one of the theologies that I've looked into on it is ancient African theology. So the spiritual systems in Egypt and Nubia, alchemy was transformation through putrefaction. So basically how, like in the Bible, the first miracle that Jesus does is turn water into wine. So basically, he's taking this pure thing, or these grapes or this water, and putting it through this process. The process of turning grapes into wine, if we look at it in a physical sense, is awful, because they have to die, they have to rot, they sit there, they go through this, Same way with like carbon or stardust coming into the bottom of the ground or the earth, and it goes through, those years of heat and intense pressure, and then later it produces diamonds.
But so is that like transmutation? Is that transmutation?
Yeah.
That process.
Right. So the coal is turning into higher elements like gold or diamond. And so I think what happened was our ancestors were studying this, and then they put it into mythology or into like story form to help you understand that the way the earth and the universe moves and rotates is the same way in your body, because you are a representation of everything outside of you. So that's what I meant by that alchemy with us as human beings. Like, we were like, human consciousness at some point in history was at a higher state of consciousness. So the fact that we can't figure out how they built the pyramids, it would seem as though we have devolved instead of evolved. But if you devolve, you go down, and you are going to come back up. So it's just a process. Like, you fall asleep, you wake back up. Like a caterpillar has to die.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. I was gonna do the cat. I was gonna say like a caterpillar. So I interviewed these visionary artists, Alex and Allison Gray, and that was one of the things they were saying is like humanity had to essentially devolve into scientific materialism. We had to forget the gods, forget our connection with the divine, forget the spirits, so that we could get to this point of creating like science of science. Specifically, I think they were saying like LSD, because they're visionary artists. So they're like, if you want LSD to exist, which is this consciousness expanding drug that connects you with God, if you ask this hippie, then you need to have a precursor moment in human history where there's just rational science. Otherwise, you get no LSD. Otherwise, you get no Elon Musk firing ships to Mars, right? You need, and you look at like, one of the symbols apparently associated with the Templars, who were, murdered by the Catholic Church, who are like famous in Masonic mythology, is Baphomet, which is a very scary symbol that's been co-opted by a lot of like heavy metal bands and stuff. It's the goat pointing up and down, but what's written on the goat's hand is Salve on one hand and Coagula on the other, which means to dissolve, to reform. Oh shit! I want to be a Mason. Sign me up. What am I gonna do?
Yeah, you gotta ask for him, man.
I'm asking.
He's done a couple times, so he's letting win and some horns.
Is that right about that's what that means on his arms, right? It means dissolve so that you can. It's exactly what you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's that process that we're in, and I feel like we're coming out of it. I feel like we're coming out of that dark period of being filthy, because the last 200 years, when I first started studying history, I cried a few times. I'm like, this is awful.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing that what 2020 looks like and what the future can looks like. It doesn't look like that. It looks like something higher, a little bit better. So, yeah.
Do you think that's a certainty? Do you think that's a certainty, or do you think the coin is still spinning, so to speak?
I mean, I think it's a certainty, because it change is inevitable. Change is the only thing that is consistent in life. So, and when we think about life, we got to think about the ultimate life for us, which is Earth. Earth will rid of all of us one day, They talked about global warming, global warming being a problem for the earth, but it's not a problem for the earth. It's a problem for us. We
Right.
can't live in global warming. So
Yeah.
guess what? The earth is going to be fine. So
Yeah.
these problems that
Right.
we're thinking of now and all this stuff in about 100 years, who knows? I doubt that we'll even be thinking about race problems and things like that.
Right.
We'll probably be thinking about how do we try to survive much longer on a planet that is rejecting us.
Oh shit. See, that's a dire analysis though, man. That seems to fly in the face of what you're saying. Like, because on one side, and by the way, what you're saying might be the ultimate solution for the planet. It just might be that the earth is getting a fever right now. And the earth is like, well, what are these things? Why did I do this? What the fuck? I made people? These things suck. Or, this is a mistake. This was dumb. Or it just might be that the earth is like a spaceship, and that the earth has like gotten some parasitic fungus on it that looks like human cities, like an embarrassing case of like crab lice that you get when you're flying through space or something.
Yeah, you think like the other planets are like, oh, look at Earth, look at you, dude. Who's growing on your back right now, you loser?
I told you not to fuck the sun. Look at you, covered in humans.
Yeah, we told you were meant to why you get so close to the sun. Just had to be third in line, didn't you?
Look at you. You're gonna end up like Venus.
Oh, maybe the Earth has small penile issues, and that's why like we are the way we are.
It's like jealous of Jupiter.
Yeah.
Big motherfucker. Look at you out there. I'll make people.
That's what it is. That's what it is. The earth is angry because it's insecure. If you look at all these ancient texts, it doesn't get a good rep. No. It's like that daughter that's
a science project, and we produced nothing for it, but more trouble.
Another failure. Tried dinosaurs. Clearly, dinosaurs. Definitely something with a tiny dick is going to make dinosaurs, right? It's like I'm covered in giant reptiles and then blasted with a meteor, wiped out, annihilated. Okay, I'll make super advanced monkeys, and then now this. But I have to have an optimistic outlook for the future. Because otherwise, I'm a monster. I'm a breeder. I'm making babies. My wife is pregnant, so it's like I'm bringing children into the world. I have a son, and I love them, and it's the most beautiful thing. And so I have to be. Otherwise, it's like, what am I doing? I'm basically like throwing children into some kind of temporal blender, So my outlook on things is that I think the coin is spinning, but I think. Do y'all like Michael Beckwith? You ever go to Agape?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Fucking love it, man.
And I must say that I hold Michael Beckwith to the same standard of all, high-powered preachers and things. I don't think he's any, I don't want to think more of him as if he's not above, the whole scam artist thing of what I think of like Joe Osteen or whatever. Whoever else in the 500 club is doing it, like they're all pandering to somebody to make a living, Well, I love him. I love to say that I love Michael Beck.
I mean, if you like, to me, it's like if you on one, like I like the way Ram Dass teaches. And by the way, like Ram Dass would say before going on stage at these retreats, he would say things like "Showtime." You know what I mean? Like he acknowledged the performance. He acknowledged it. And that's all you have to do is just at least acknowledge you're doing a show. That's all. The moment you do that, it's okay. But like the what Beckwith is doing on one level, it's performative. But man, a lot of the stuff he says has really helped me, which to me is and that being said, and I know what you mean, man. I like anybody that I cross paths with that has a spiritual platform. There's a cynical part of me that just prepares for the heartbreak. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what I'm going to hear. I don't know what I'm going to find out, but oh man. But I had a professor when I was in college who said we have to become like filters. We have to become filters for data, meaning the more you can filter out the bullshit and pull in the good, the better you're going to be as a person. So it's like, if we get confused, in other words, if the faucet is fucked up, but the water is clean, if there's a way for those two things to happen, we can still drink the water. And if the water isn't clean, theoretically, we can purify the water and then still enjoy the water. So it's like, this is where I think it's a controversial thing, which is that right now where we're at is like, we want to completely annihilate the all data coming from a fucked up faucet, even though some of it might have been okay. Even if 80-90% of it's crazy, what if the other 10% is useful information? We have to learn to do that without allowing the, thing from which it's flowing to corrupt it so much. Mm-hmm. Otherwise we're fucked, man. We're fucked. Otherwise we're fucked. Picasso was punching women, man. You know what I mean? Van Gogh was a stalker.
Yeah.
Are we gonna or can we not enjoy their art anymore? Right. It's a tragedy that they weren't like that. They were channels for this beautiful thing that flowed into the world, and that channel was didn't respect what was flowing through it enough to maintain some integrity. But god damn it, man, it becomes even more of a tragedy if the thing flowing through it suddenly becomes suspect. Anyway, that being said, it's like, I love what Beckwith says about co-creating the universe with God. We're co-creating. So it's like, meaning that we don't know what the future holds, but there's this possibility that we can not just passively allow it to become either utopia or an annihilated wasteland, but actually shape it, form it, transform it to outcome. What's the word? What's the word you were saying? Transmute it, into something that our children, can look back at us the way we look back at the people who killed the fucking Nazis.
Yeah, it's thinking about one of the things he said. I remember when I was listening to him early in the quarantine, and he talked about tough times making tough people. And he sort of spoke to the idea of speaking to your future self. So you ask yourself, at the age of 70, hey, 70-year-old self, tell me, what do you feel about right now? Like, how do you feel about how I am handling things?
Wow.
And your 70-year-old self will respond. If you listen, he will say, yo, that was fucked up and I didn't like it. And I'm at 70 years old and I'm still regretting that moment. Yeah. And you can do something about it right now. Or you can say, oh, I'm 70. I don't give a good goddamn what I did.
Yeah.
But you can actually have that conversation with your 70-year-old self in saying what, it don't have to be 70. It can be your, 60-year-old self, 55-year-old self. Why not?
How about yourself tomorrow morning? Yourself next week. That's cool, man. That's powerful magic. That is crazy.
But talk to your future self and see what it is that you actually wanted to be in this time. What you saw yourself. Do you see yourself helping people during this pandemic? Do you see yourself just hiding out and just being one of the people who just stay behind closed doors and did you let fear riddle you? Did you let yourself live? Did you find your community? Did you rally for your community?
Right.
It's all these different things that you got to ask. What did you do at that time? And your future self will tell you exactly what you did and how you felt about it.
That's good. That's good.
So Reverend Beckwith is definitely not on my shit list of.
No way, man. Daddy, he's a tuning fork, man. Anytime I'm particularly fucking messed up, I go there and just he tunes you. He's so good at it, man. It's like,
man.
I watch him and you just watch him do that thing he does. Like he channels or something like that. And when you're in the place in person, you feel it. It's the energy, man. People
I miss his locks, though, man. I miss his locks. I feel like there's a real theory in power being in hair. Because when he had his locks, man, something about him that was just so on fire. And
I
then
remember, man,
it just like,
thinning.
then they left, and then it was just something about him. I mean, of course, he's getting older too, so
I think he had to tap out to it, man. It's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like he had thinning hair.
yeah,
He had those cool, like it just wasn't working. You could see it was receding. He knew it was receding. Also, I think like there's something in it, which is like, I am projecting into the world that there is a possibility to speak your world into existence, but it's not working with my hair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you gotta deal with the truth, because there is the truth. I mean, that is the reality of things. It's like, look, as much as I love Neville Goddard, as much as I love Napoleon Hill, as much as I love all that philosophy, there is a certain place where, I mean, come on. It's like, man, it's not bringing my hair back. Like, it's not, I can visualize until I'm blue in the face. I can live in a world where I have like this, you should see this fucking bald spot, man. It's the worst. It's like, it makes me want to convert to Judaism, because it's exactly where a yarmulke would go. It's like, I'm going to have to shave this shit eventually, man. I don't know who I think I'm fooling.
I did a Zoom call yesterday, and I saw, like the day before yesterday, I was just like, oh man, I don't want to do it. Like, it was just a reminder of how old I've gotten, how much my body has changed. Oh, that's like, man, just cut it all off. Just cut it off. Just get rid of it, And
get out of here. You got a symmetrical head.
A symmetrical head. Just show it off.
You should be happy. Good God, you've crossed over, friend. Now everyone sees you without hair.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna go for a look that I'm going for this look. I'm gonna get the cul-de-sac that goes like around, and I'm gonna be bald up here, like right where the spot is. I'm gonna make sure that is highlighted.
Love it.
And the hair that is able to grow.
Part with that.
I already did it. I think I got a picture of it. I already did it, and I was like, "This is it, man."
As long as you acknowledge it, man, it's like, it's just like, I'm still in the phase where I'm like, because I can't see it, I'm pretending it's not there. And fuck that.
It's gonna be my artist look, man. I feel it like that. I was just like, this is it. This is the one. I gotta like bring it in for the cul-de-sac brothers.
You look, here's like the thing that like frightens me is I don't know what my head looks like without hair. And
really?
Well, no, man. I mean, I could go back to baby pictures, but like, I know I've got like a kind of like Cro-Magnon brow. It like Frankenstein's out a little bit. You know what I mean? So like, I'm afraid if I shave it, I don't think it's going to look, I think it's going to look like, I'll show you. I can actually bring a picture up. This is my fear. No offense to this actor, by the way. He's a really great, famous actor, but and he's talented, and I love the Hills Have Eyes, but like, this is like, can you see that?
Oh, yeah. No way.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, man. I'm just worried because look, he doesn't have a symmetrical head. He's a beautiful being and he's a great actor, but like his head is not symmetrical. So it's like, you're lucky because you can shave your head and you've got a symmetrical head.
But you know what? That's what made him that's what gave him his career. If you think about it, like who was coming in with asymmetrical heads that day where somebody wasn't like, you're the guy.
You're the guy.
They were like, all these symmetrical heads.
They see all these people, hundreds of people, and then they're like, hey, you know what? The guy with the asymmetrical hair, I can't get that picture out of my head. So automatically you're like, I want that guy. So,
let me ask you this. At what point, because you mentioned age, at what point do you think worrying about how you look becomes vanity? Like when you're old, you know what I mean? Like I'm 46. At some point, isn't it kind of like a friend of mine at one point when I was bitching about my looks, they said, don't you think you're a little old to be worrying about that right now? It was painful. It's too late. You're with it. But what do you think about that? Like, is there a time when it's just like vanity? It's like, really, you're married, you have kids. What are you? What are you a sports model? What are you doing? Why are you
But
spending?
it's just that thing. It's just that thing that you recognize of yourself. Like it's what brought you to where you are now.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me my car won't start.
Right.
Now you're telling me I'm driving something that's out of date.
Right.
It's just like, no, when did that happen? I didn't get the notice.
Right.
And that's the thing that is bothersome. It's like if I knew that I was trading in, my big body Hummer for, this like minivan,
right,
I would have had some objection and tried to negotiate something.
Right. Yeah.
So it's more about a preference of and more so than a vanity thing. Vanity is like it's like a comparison, or there is something to be compared in vanity. I feel like there is a goal to get to vanity, but this is just the basic function of my body.
Right. Also, as an actor, it's like,
yeah,
I do understand. There's a whole other thing there, which is like, yeah, I get that, but as a podcaster, it's like, I don't know, man. Like, you see, I don't know if you ever seen the thing, and I'm not trying to bash plastic surgery at all, because I get it. But that thing you see sometimes where it's like a person gets plastic surgery, but it's too late. It's like they fix like a patch of their body. You know what I mean? But it's like, you can't, like, come on. What are you doing? Like, what?
You just made it worse. You just made it worse.
Yeah. I mean, when I just see Botox lips, and no offense to, people who get Botox lips, but it's just like it just looks weird. And I think people think it looks cute but it's just strange. I've never seen Botox lips that look normal. And if I have seen them, I didn't know they were Botoxed.
Right.
Where did that start? Because something that I thought about, me and Natalie was talking about this last week or like 2 weeks ago. Because I study a lot of history, and they find all these artifacts and all these temples and statues, and there's never anybody smiling, showing their teeth. Why is that?
Oh yeah.
So that made me wonder, like, what was their idea of beauty and pretty versus ours? Because I never saw like a cheese or anything. And then I looked into the animal kingdom to see, like, okay, is there like a correlation there with like how they respond to things? And then I looked at I want to say it's the baboon, and they show their teeth when they're in danger or when they need to show some type of aggression. So I had a theory or just a wonder, like, are we so somewhere here to where now we're doing we're doing all of these things for like, I guess to get some type of approval, but in reality, whatever that was.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty standard, right? It's like, there was a time when it was like where if women were fat, that was hot. Like, you wanted women to be fat because it means they have money, they could eat. Like, in times where there's famine, if women are fat, it's hot. But in times where there's like not famine, it's hot to be thin because you haven't been eating. So it's like, yeah, it's a shifting. I mean, that's the crazy thing. You look at the paintings of women, from the old days, and they're all like, Rubenesque women, like. Mm-hmm. But now women are like, they starve themselves, and like for a dude, I guess the idea, what is it right now? The beauty standard for a guy is like abs. It's always abs, isn't it? Abs, you're kind of ripped, chiseled. It's like Marvel. It's like you want to look like a superhero. That's the look.
Right. Let me be honest, man. I've always taken great pride in my shoulders. It's been my shoulders. It's like I flex them and I feel good, right? And the weird thing about that is that throughout my entire life, if not most, a lot of white guys like to pat my shoulders as if like, man, look at Look at those.
Really?
Man, I had those shoulders. You know, it was like just like in Get Out, right? When at the dinner table, and he's like, that build, if you trained,
Oh yeah,
body, you know.
What the fuck is that? That's creepy.
It's creepy.
What the fuck is that?
It's creepy. But
hey, nice shoulders, man.
But that kind of thing has fed into the confidence of my shoulder of like, yeah, man, I like the way my shoulders look. And what man is out there saying that my shoulders look good? Like,
let me tell you something. If anybody in my life had ever complimented my shoulders, I would never forget it. I would feel so good. I'd try to figure out a way to like tell my wife that someone complimented my shoulders. Like I was bragging. Oh man, you know, I was at a Ralph's and yeah, they were out of milk, but yeah, somebody complimented my shoulders. Like, it's okay. Like it's cool. Like what do you work? Do you like have a special exercise for your shoulders or something? Or is it just like
no, I just started getting hyper aware of like, yeah, man, I need to work my shoulders out.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's when famine was running wild.
People were fucking starving.
Wow.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You know what's
and
interesting?
he was like, well, I ain't got nothing better to do. Might as well pay my lady here. And she sees me.
I got a cousin who only likes women that look like that size wise. So it didn't all the way go away. It's still a lot of people's preference. So
no, yeah, man.
It's no. Listen, to me, I think it's like we got like the problem. You know, it's to me, there's something suspect. But I get it. Like I understand. Obviously, I understand the attraction to symmetry. I get it, man. Like I get it. It's like something deep inside of us. I get it. But yeah, it's like it is a little bit weird. It's like, is that all you're seeing? You know, like, I don't know if you've ever, I'm sure this has never happened to y'all, but if you ever found yourself maybe like, realizing that the reason you're with someone is because the way they look, you know what I mean? Like you've gotten pulled in to their hypersymmetry. And like the way my friend puts it is like, you don't know what's behind that. Like you could be with someone who's like the most symmetrical, beautiful person, but behind it is like a sociopathic truck driver. It's just a mask, right? So Absolutely. It's like that's a thing, but it's powerful. God damn, it's so powerful.
But that's what the point of that like chart is, right? Like it's like a chart of somebody made a chart of like how hot is the person compared to like how crazy that person is.
Yes.
And like where does it meet in that? What is that chart called? When you like graph?
That's that unit graph. That's a pretty good graph.
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to figure out like, okay, at what degree is my like cutoff of like, all right, to me, you're not that attractive and your attitude stinks. So you're definitely in this corner down here. And I'm trying to get away from that. So you're just trying to ascend up.
Man, think how haunted you would be though, man. This is like when like, Louis C.K. was trying to fuck people on the road, or whenever you hear about like comics trying to fuck women they take out on the road with them. As a comic, I know how fucked up that is, because if like I was at like Rogan, he gave me my start. He started taking me on the road with him way before I was ready. And like, if at any point during that, when he was giving me that shot, if we'd been like at a bar or something, be like, Duncan, would you suck my dick? It would destroy me. It would be like, oh, you don't think I'm funny? You want me to suck your dick? I fell for it. Of course, I knew I wasn't funny. Oh. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, it's like mentally so fucked. Like, can you imagine? To me, I think this is like where people who are hypersymmetrical, this is why they go crazy. Because like, imagine if that's, you start realizing that no one gives a fuck what you're thinking, or if they do, it's barely anything. They just think you're pretty. Oh, how do you not go crazy?
Yeah.
How would you not spiral?
promise I had this conversation with somebody, and I was trying to, in a way, I was trying to like explain. I realized even now thinking about it, how like stupid I sound, and like, hey man, you just gotta like play the game, play that person that you think is playing you before it's like playing chess. But it shouldn't have to be like that.
Right.
You shouldn't have to play chess just to be a regular person. You know what I mean? Like that's, but it's like knowing that disadvantage is there. Knowing that you want to be something else, you know what I mean? Like that's it's hard.
Yeah, you fall for that illusion too and get trapped in it.
Yeah, you do, and it's very alluring and very powerful, and it's like, and it's real, man. I mean, there is something, you know. How do you? That's the thing. It's not like you should feel terrible if you like are attracted to attractive. They're literally called attractive. You know, they're magnetic. They're literally attractive. They're like human. They've got a gravity field that like pulls you in, and it's brutal for them, man. It's like but then also, how do you complain? Like, oh God, I would love one day to be bitching about how pretty I was. No one likes me except for my looks. I'm in hell. All these private jets, all these fucking beautiful parties, and all the cocaine.
Did you always know that you wanted to do comedy?
No way. I was never that. I've never I mean, up until now, there's intentionality, but most of my life has been like, you know, luck, and like I am funny. I know I'm funny, and I know that like when I was in high school, that would be something I used to try to get friends or to try to gain any kind of footing. But I never had the confidence like I'm gonna monetize this. I never, you know, I would memorize jokes. I would like get these truly tasteless joke books, and I would sit at home and like memorize so many jokes. I could do it back then. I don't think I could do it now, but back then I could just somehow memorize joke after joke after joke after joke. And I would tell it to people. I didn't even think of that as stand-up comedy. I just thought of like, it makes like girls laugh and like, this is amazing. That's was it. But you know, some comics, they're like, the moment I saw Richard Pryor, I knew I would do comedy. Fuck. You must have great fucking parents, man. Like, I sure didn't think that. You know, I just stumbled into. I came to LA. I'd inherited like $11,000 from my grandmother. I thought it would last a year. This is how stupid I was. I would just got out of liberal arts school. I spent it all on like synthesizers and LSD. We bought like a vial of like liquid LSD, and like my landlord is a crackhead. I ran out of money in like 4 months and had to get a job. And so I just went to the Comedy Store, and because I thought it'd be cool to work at a comedy club. And I got the job and on the answering phones. And then that led to me becoming friends with Rogan and doing stand-up. And then Rogan took me on the road with him. That's how it happened. It was all accidental. Wow. Completely accidental.
But in a way, but like the universe sort of speaking to the purpose behind, you know, like it all streamlines, right? Like
it's all a setup.
If you take Midnight Gospel being like sort of like this apex of like, how did you get there? Then you start looking back at all these things that became so purposeful to why you're at that point, right? Like it's not an accident.
No,
everything is just like one foot in front of the other steps, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, I do think folks like us who get into art are, you know the story of the descendants of Cain? Do you know that story? They went east of Eden to the land of Nod, and they became the ones who made musical instruments. They became the artists, the outcasts. I'll put a mark upon you. You'll always be rejected. And these were the descendants of Cain. And I feel like that was like, you know, talking about the artists, which is like, you just don't fit in. You don't fit in. We're like, no matter what, even if you do fit in, you don't fit in. You like, so like actors, you know, y'all are like, fuck, I wish I could act, man. It's like crazy to become something else in that way. I don't get it. And comedians, we're ourselves, you know, that's what we do. But actors, Jesus Christ.
But that's the thing though. It's like actors, we put on masks, or we evolve ourselves into a character, or wear the energy of another person. But that's no different from just putting the energy on of like, all right, Duncan Trussell is at work, but now Duncan Trussell's at home and has to be a dad. Or, you know, Duncan. So it's not you necessarily having to leave and be somebody else, but it's just putting that energy into something. Now, I don't know about the whole what's baby girl that did Judy fucking Judy, the movie Judy. What's her name?
I'm not sure. Judy.
Oh my God, I can
look it up. You remember we have access to all information.
I know, man, but I keep seeing her face on The Critic, and you know how The Critic made fun of all the Hollywood actors and actresses back in the day.
Yes,
I just keep seeing her face.
Let me look it up.
Squint it up.
Renee Zellweger. Yeah.
Like what she did with Judy, you know what I mean? Like just completely like changing and forming like this different character to herself to become a Judy Garland, you know, like that to me is like that's extra. That's on top of that's acting. Like that's what we all aspire that we think we want to do, but 90% of what we do is not that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's literally like you being yourself, but you just putting on another person's energy. I'm just presenting a different energy to you.
But you do though, and like especially with theater, you have to expose yourself, and that's the thing that makes being a performer or actor or artist tough sometimes, because some people's story might be uncomfortable based on your experience growing up, so you feel limited in being able to share that story because you're going to be exposed in front of everyone. So like so if I grew up in for example, growing up in a very small southern town, a Baptist town where, you know, drinking alcohol is bad or homosexuality is an abomination, things like that, these ideas that they're planted into your head as a child, and you grow up and then you get a script and they say, oh, hey, you're playing a musician who's struggling with alcohol and his sexuality. Whoa, it's hard to like put those shoes because you've been given so much information that this is wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of a thespian or artist is there isn't anything wrong. Like everybody has a story, and you should be able to see yourself in that story.
Yeah. Man, y'all actors are amazing. Listen, I have so much respect. Like I have a friend who's an actor, and he would help me work on lines, and I was always so fucking pissed because like I would be struggling with this shit, and he would pick it up, he would look at it, turn into this thing that I'd been like spending all afternoon struggling with. And that's, you know, that to me, it's just something very magical about it. And when I hear y'all talk about your theory and stuff, it all makes sense to me. But also it's kind of like, I think a thing that gets really overlooked with acting is how fucking technical it is. It's people imagine everyone's going all like Daniel Day-Lewis and shit, getting carried around by the crew while you act like you're paralyzed or something. People like pouring craft service into your mouth. But it's like brutally technical. Anytime I've gone to a set and watched what's happening over the course of 4 hours to grab 10 seconds and how every actor has to be perfectly in the exact right spot or the whole fucking thing's fucked, and the pressure of that, just that alone, just the pressure of having to hit your spots while maintaining the form of the being that you're summoning into your body or however you're doing it. Damn, it's brutal.
Well, when you put it like that, man, come on, man. They should be paying us so much money, huh? Nah, I'm just saying. There's a lot.
Should get paid more.
Get paid more.
That's kind of that philosophy of life, though, right? Especially like, and I remember what was it with the prisoner episode. so present. How how he was saying that none of this is real. So yeah, just why are you so stressed out about it? And that's the kind of thing with being on stage, to where you're so caught up in the moment to where this has completely become real to you. But at the same time, you have to have one little part of yourself that remembers this isn't real. So
Right.
be able to pull yourself out of it after the scene is over. So when they say cut or they say lights out, okay, now I'm able to check back out. That
Right.
was just the role that I was playing. I hit my marks. I did my thing. So like with my purpose in life, it's like, oh, I'm a character, but I have to remember my lines, or remember my role, or remember what I'm supposed to be doing. Why am I on the set right now?
Right. I mean, I think it's voodoo, man. It's like black magic. It's like dark, occulty stuff. It's like, which is why people like Heath Ledger go nuts. I think there's something you got to watch out. It's like, listen, I'm not trying. Listen, I'm probably just, I'm jealous. I want to be an actor. I would love nothing more than to like Daniel Day-Lewis my way into like a scene. And Ram Dass talks about all the time, like, oh yeah, we're all God in drag. That's what he says. We're all God wearing the mask of our identity. You think you're not acting, you're fucking acting. Yeah. Whatever you do, you're acting. There's no way out of acting. And an actor is just someone who like, well, I don't know what, but well,
you just you are literally controlling energy in your hands. Like it's like you are using the force, right? Like you are manipulating time, space, and words in order to make an illusion seem real. Yeah. And all that is just concentrating energy. It's really not more than that to me. You are taking words that are already written by somebody else, the idea that, which is like if we're gonna get into like the Trinity that makes one, you're taking the words, the idea, and the physical body, and you're making art.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you just gotta tell the truth.
And you just got to tell the truth. And you just got to let them all sync together. You can't hold anything back from one another. Like if the body ain't matching the words, then it ain't going to work. If the words ain't matching the idea, it ain't going to work.
Is it? Okay. Help me with this. So, okay, my friend, he's a drummer. He's this insane drummer in this band called Om. It's like, I don't know the name. It's like you go to their shows and you feel like you're in Indiana Jones, the one where they pull the heart out of people. It's like that level of I don't know what the type of the genre is. It's like sludge rock, stoner rock. So it's just like it's like a dude with a bass guitar and drums, and it's dark and fucking like blah, 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 blah. It's fucking awesome. But he like was explaining to me when he's doing drums, when he's doing drums. This is how little I understand about drumming. When he's doing his drum sounds, he said it's athleticism. That it's like no different than when he skateboards. So how much of acting is just that? How much of acting is like some form of like just being in tune with your body and pure instinctual athleticism versus like intellectual?
That's all it is. That's all. I mean, the intellectual is there, but the intellectual is taken care of with the circumstance. Like Brandon was saying earlier about like, if you are doing a role in something that you have no experience in, then it's up to you to do that research. It's up to you to figure out what you need in order to lock in what the idea of that is. What one of those 7 laws that was written in Shakespeare, right? Like it's like 7 things that Shakespeare wrote about that are very specific, that are very universal. It doesn't change amongst anybody, no matter what race, class, history you have. These are 7 human things that just are gonna exist. And it's like, the 7 deadly sins, right? Like your jealousy, greed, and all this stuff, right? So like he wrote about those things in order to like get a more universal idea of the human experience. And that's what you do as an actor. You are trying to just tap into your universal human experience that we all have. People make it intellectual because they don't want to experience. They don't want to try to understand. They don't want to have the empathy in their heart. So they got to make it intellectual. They got to like turn it into like this thing of being in the head. And you can tell performances that are just heady performances. You go like, okay, I see what's going on here.
And speaking to what to add on what Mark is saying, but also speak to your point, Duncan, about being in tune with your body. There's a lot of breathing, and it's funny. A lot of the breathing techniques that we got taught at State, I came out here and I did a meditation class one time, and it was literally the same thing. And I said, wow. In acting school, I was getting taught freaking yoga and deep meditation practices to get into.
Wait, what's that breathing? What is it? What's the breathing pattern you were taught?
So it's basically you waking up your body so that you're in tune with yourself and that you're open. So
it's called breath of fire.
Yeah. And so that's part of it. Yeah. And so if you think about acting, it's emotions. You're connecting to emotions, but you have to connect to your emotions. And all of that is, something that once you do a lot of deep breathing or you're in tune with yourself, you know how to tap instantly into your emotions. But when you're not tapped into yourself or your emotions, you're not able to express it on cue. If you're in a scene with somebody and you're interacting, it's like it's shut off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. You're describing my entire adult life. This is I'm telling you, this is like when I met Ramdas at his house. I remember he was looking at me and he just points to his head and he goes, "We've got to get you from here to here." Is what he said. And every day I work with that. I try, and I do try to get into my heart more and stuff because it's so easy. Like I live in my head. And like I remember when I was a kid, people would say, "You're up in your head, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I took pride in that. I was just trying to get away from feeling.
Yeah.
Feeling is so powerful. Feeling hurts. It's, it's like, but now that I'm a dad, I can't stay out of my heart around my kid. There's no way to do it. It pulls you into your heart. But wow, if you're like a head person like I am, those visiting your heart is it's beyond. It's like I'm trying to think of the way to describe it. It's like writing with your left hand or something. It's like it just feels like fuck. This is so powerful and scary down there, man.
And that's the thing about being emotional about things, especially in a time like this where, like one of the reasons when I sat back and thought about like, why don't you go? Natalie invited us to this Juneteenth. Was that Juneteenth program today at the park, or is it tomorrow? It was today.
Yeah.
So like, like I thought about it and I was like, oh, maybe I should go, but at the same time, I'm like, man, it's not safe out there, and not in the sense of when I'm talking about COVID. I'm just talking about like people who want to agitate and people who are looking to like, gaslight and start trouble, especially in a time like this. And if you're gathered in a spot, like that's the perfect place to like get a bunch of people riled up and mad just so they can get the evidence of what they need, right?
Right.
So I think about like, why haven't I been to a protest or something? I'll probably be the idiot that's so emotional that I'm like out there getting my ass beat and daring them to bust my head open just because I'm emotional. And I'm like, man, like, that's probably like, I know myself and I know that I'm not best served in that position because I'll go to an extreme. I'm an extremist. Right. I like to make a point by going to an extreme. So I'm no good to you in that space.
Right.
Let me go to an extreme in another area that like will allow me to be useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I experienced that today, actually. So not well in a good way. So we had like a earlier a gathering earlier through the group I'm a part of. It's called Black Man Now. So it's, we get, some African American brothers together, and we talk about healing and mental health and things like that. So a big group got together downtown today, and we were outside, having like a big powwow. Everybody's looking good, and it was my turn to get up and speak in front of the group, and I fired off, which is something I haven't done in a very, very long time. Well, in that manner, getting into a debate or argument, with Nelly about something, it was that same energy. And I was like, that extreme passion that I had in that place, it would serve way better over here, like firing off to these guys about like, what's the next step forward into us being greater men, taking that same energy and then debating about something that's, you're never going to win on. So yeah, I had that experience today.
That's good. That thing. Cause like, God damn, like, Netflix, we don't know if they're going to do another season. They haven't decided yet. So I'm in hell, just tortured by that, not knowing. And at least I know that, because it's like, if I don't know that, then all that energy I want to take out, and I'm going to do it to my wife. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to suddenly I'm going to be angry because I don't know. I'll find, if I have to be very careful. I know what you mean. Like, it's so easy to be swept into those things. Like, I guess what we're talking about is channeling it in an intelligent way instead of just letting it blow out uncontrollably, because
it's there and you can't get rid of it, but it's good to have a handle on it and use it for your good versus not having any control on it, and it just becomes chaotic. Well, that's what it is. It's chaos energy.
It's chaos.
It's supposed to be ordered by your power, And what are you about to say, Mark?
This brings up the point of the post, right? The
post. Right.
The what?
So there was this video last week. So after we had our talk last week, I was feeling great and feeling ready to tackle the world. And the next morning I wake up and I look at Instagram, and a friend of mine shared a video. And I didn't realize at the time this video was 4 years old, about that guy in Arizona who was in a hotel that got shot by that cop. Did you see that one?
No.
Oh man, there was a guy, a white guy, in a hotel in Arizona.
The one you're talking about. I know it. Yep.
And dude, it triggered me, man. It triggered me so hard because the way that cop sounded in that video sounded just like the way the cops talked to us when we were kids. And I'm just thinking like, oh my God. And they killed this man like a dead animal. Like, they killed him like an animal. You know what I mean? Like, just like I see all these black people that they are killing. And it's like, man, it like, wow. It just triggered me so hard that I wanted blood, man. Like, it was terrible. So I went on Instagram and I shared the video, and I told any of my followers who had the fucking balls to watch this video and don't turn down the volume. Don't look away. You look and you tell me Blue Lives Matter after that, and something like that. And I just kind of told my truth about what that made me feel. And then I was like, you know what, man, Instagram is so impersonal because people just push follow, and then I don't know them. I don't know who they are. They just follow me. So I was like, I need to take this beef to Facebook, because Facebook is a curated experience of over 5,000 people that I've accumulated since 2004. And, like, those are all people who have been in a different facet of Marcus and who he was as a human in his evolution. And so I was like, I need to speak to these people because I need a direct line to be drawn amongst me and the people who might wish me harm based on the color of my skin.
Right.
I need that distinction to be made. that I'm not on the line and I'm thinking, let me hear both sides of the story. No, I wanted to be very clear that Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
So one of the things that inspired that post was a couple of teachers or a couple of people who were I'm friends with on Facebook have all this rhetoric of all lives matter and blue lives matter and why are the looters doing this and da 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 da. And it was just like, man, you had my life in your custody when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You were somebody who says that you love me. How do you love me? And this is your rhetoric. Because I am not separate from this. I am not a special case. And if you think I am, fuck you.
Right.
So like it. So then I like wrote this post, man, and I have no shame. I'll read it.
Let's hear it.
I will read it once. Let me find. And it's like people are reading it more and more and shit. It's all right. Let's see. Here it is. So I said, is it gonna come up? Is it coming up? Oh, here it is. I said, let me make it so clear that your dead, dick in the ass Confederate ancestors can understand. Black Lives Matter. Oh, what happened? There it is. And that includes all Black lives. So please fucking unfriend and do not support me if you have any bullshit excuse as to why in this climate, with all the fucking evidence in the world, you should say Blue Lives Matter. As a youth in Jennings, Missouri, we were treated like fucking animals. And I'm friends with some of the teachers who had my life in their custody and thought of me as an animal. And please miss me with the bullshit excuse of, well, you were different because your mom worked at the high school. Bullshit. Because those racist ass police didn't give a shit. We were spat on, degraded, pushed, and had guns drawn on us as kids. And that was just to walk home. So if you believe in the military and the bombing and killing of innocent people in those places and turn around and are upset about property and can't understand why people, not just Black, are mad, you are a piece of shit. And your life work will be erased from history and you will never survive the waves of time, you awful asshole. I really want to tag every fucking person I'm talking about, but the real satisfaction will come on their deathbed when the quiet moments are about to hit and you will hear the names of the ghosts that haunt the fuck out of you into eternity. Fuck you. Now back to some namaste shit.
That felt good.
But that was the rage talking. And I thought about it, and I thought about what that video made me feel, what everything's been making me feel. And there's a suppression that happens, when these things, when Black people get involved with the police or have these confrontations with the police, there's a suppression because you got to go on to the next day. It ain't like you can just drop all your shit and then that becomes your life, because guess what? That shit happens. And then you just got to keep going no matter what. So then all it is, and not to demean a rape victim or anything, but it's almost like when a rape victim keeps hearing about rape cases and keeps coming up, right? And it keeps coming up. After a while, you like, man, my story is important too. Like, I need to say this so other people know that it's not okay, that they can speak up too. So I really felt like I had to say something. I had to speak up because it's bullshit, man. It's bullshit for people to think just because I've made it from St. Louis to Hollywood that in some way I'm a special case or it's different. Because here in West Hills, right down the street from fucking Calabasas, me and my wife were pulled over at like midnight coming from a UCB show. And at the end of this interaction of being pulled over, I'm in the back of a police car and my wife is in cuffs on the curb. How is this interaction? If you know me, how does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah, man.
It happened because I did everything that person told me to do.
Right.
I did everything that they told me to do. And my wife was concerned because she thought, why is my husband getting in the back of a police car and we were stopped for no reason? Why? So it's just crazy, man. So I had to write it. I had to put it out there. And luckily one of the people who I was talking about in that messaged me and was like, I read your post and it emotioned me. It made me want to understand. And I said, okay, well, my job was okay. That my point got across. And then, you know, the big thought about it was before I pushed post, I thought my mom, who isn't even on Facebook, is gonna hear about this.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like this thing of like, I have never had this real talk of independence from my mom, of like where I know that I'm a separate being from her idea of what she raised. You know what I mean? Like I am my own man, but I should have had this talk with her when I was 21. I shouldn't be 35 and thinking about, oh, my mom's gonna see this post and she might be a little disappointed by what she sees.
Right.
Yeah. You know, at a certain like you just feel like, I'm a little too old to feel like that.
Right.
Sure enough, you know, like I knew that whoever saw it would think the same thing of Mrs. Henderson. Did you see what your son put on Facebook? You know, that expectation, knowing that was going to happen. I did it anyway. And I doubled down on the fucks. And she knew it when she heard about it and she read it.
Wow.
She was like, Marcus, you went crazy. What were you thinking? And I said, Mom, you know what the messed up part about this conversation right now is that you're more concerned about the language I used than what I was actually saying.
Right.
She was like, well, and then it turned into a thing where like I think that she felt blamed, that I was trying to blame her, that I went through this because of her in some way. And I'm like, no, this didn't have anything to do with you. You did your best. This had nothing to do with this. Is racist systemic oppression that they kept trying to pull. And because I was one of the good ones and I made it out, I'm not supposed to say anything. I'm supposed to be on the other side. I'm supposed to be the one to speak up and say, hey, maybe we should just pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. Well, guess what? Those are some pretty fucking faulty boots that they gave us in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
Strings are fucking broke.
Man, I think the thing to point out here is like the difference between you and me is how much thought you put into not being angry. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's the part where it's like, whoa, like you had to overcome all this conditioning to say you were angry. Like, you're supposed to be angry. Like, that is not like that. The idea that anger and spirituality don't mix. The idea that there isn't like justified anger. There isn't like the idea that you felt that you had to like curtail that. It's like, it's so heavy, man. The conditioning is so deep.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at like that video, that cop who didn't get her fucking Egg McMuffin in time. Did you see that?
Oh my God.
So that was real.
That was real.
I don't know. And, you know, that's a good point. I don't know if it could have been someone like, you know, it could have been someone trying to pretend to be a cop. I don't know. It seemed real to me, but let's just imagine it's real. I think it's real. She didn't spend any amount of time thinking about, well, I don't want to express emotion here. She just turned her fucking phone on and without thinking recorded herself bitching about not getting a fucking Egg McMuffin, right? Think of all the time you spent. You thought about your mom. You thought about your audience. You thought about probably your career a little bit. You thought about all these fucking things as though you're not supposed, like I think that if I am a reptilian oppressor who is essentially like figured out a way to not just enslave people, but sacrifice them without getting any kind of repercussion, man, you're really helping me out if you don't express anger. You're really helping me out if you're trying to be civilized. Quote, civilized. You're helping me out if you're, you know what I mean? That's a good thing, because if I'm fucking people up, I don't want them to be angry. I want them to feel bad about being angry. I want that. I want it to fuck with their heads. when they're saying how they feel, because then I can just keep, I can keep killing people. So I think that's this magical spell that's been cast, and it's powerful, man. Why wouldn't you be fucking angry? Like, what? I got pulled over, man.
But even in the talk that we had last week and talking about like how I even approach my approach in life is just to come off as non-threatening because I know the threat that I impose based on my size and what I look like.
Yeah.
So I know that, and I don't like to dress up. So I'm already looking homeless.
Right.
I'm wearing sweatpants and some jogger boots, if that even exists. I don't know jogger boots.
To me, that's the other thing is I'm like doing this thing that a lot of people are doing right now. It's just like, shit, man, I've got to like educate myself on this shit. So like when I'm watching, like, there's a documentary on Netflix right now about the 13th Amendment. And it's great and it's awful. But when you look at like by the way, is it okay to say black or should I say African American? What is the thing to say?
I'm okay with either, my friend. I just say black to make it easier, but some people like to say that's a lot of syllables for me.
Okay.
I'm like,
black, but you see many of these black speakers and you realize like they're like more buttoned up than anybody. They're like wearing these like really nice suits. They're very sophisticated. And you realize the reason they're doing that is because they feel that thing you're talking about. They're like, fuck, I've got to like put on this outfit just to even be listened to by these motherfuckers. That's what they're doing. And it's like, there's something in that is like, I mean, I'm assuming that's what it is. Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, my teacher's teacher, he did the same thing. He started wearing suits because he was trying to make a commentary on like hippies, basically, but it was a different thing. But he like was someone who used to wear robes in Tibet, so suddenly he's like buttoned up and everything like that because he's trying to express this like level of discipline or something. But man, it's just interesting listening to you talk about it, the language that you're using, how careful you are, how disciplined you are in the approach. And it's almost like, in Buddhism, there's that saying, not too tight, not too loose. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like what you're doing is too tight. And it's a tightness that you've been taught. It's not coming from who you really are.
Right.
Or it's a tightness you've had to like adhere to for survival. A tightness you have to exhibit so that you don't end up getting murdered. And that's a fucked up thing, man. When you're realizing they're just killing people who are black and that you can't even express anger about it without suddenly somehow feeling you're diluting your message.
Yeah, I mean, some people, I got a couple messages of like, hey man, you should take it down. I don't want to see your career get hurt. And I was like, not from fucking Facebook. Trust me. There's nobody in my Facebook friends list that could do damage to my career. I'm pretty confident about that. But the message has to be put out there, because if in the comments underneath everybody's showing support. Everybody's like, fuck yeah, tell them. Not one person is like, hey man, I think this is not, because they had to do it. They had to do it quietly because they didn't want people to gang up on them. They didn't want that mob mentality, right? Like, hey, I think you should take that down. I don't want to see your career get. What kind of sense is that?
Oh, you should calm down. You got to calm down a little bit, in your expression of rage. I think that's definitely like, I just like when I was like, when I posted on my Instagram, because I was like, all this shit's going down. I knew I had to say something, but I didn't know what to say. And also like, I didn't want to like make it about me or some shit. But all these people were coming at me and saying, you got to say something. You got all these followers. You can't just you can't post silly pictures right now, man. Like you've got to, like, people want to know what you have to say. And that pissed me off because it's like, don't fucking tell me what to fucking post. I'll fucking post. But also I knew they were right, which makes you even angrier, you know?
Yeah.
But I remember when I posted it, it was like so many crazy emotions surging through me. But then that's when I realized, oh yeah, they just want me to shut up. They want us all to shut up. They want you to be quiet. Once I realized that, I could overcome whatever like infantile part of me is like, I'm not gonna do what you tell me, because I realize, you know, like it's like what like folks who are wanting me to say shit, they had a good reason. But I think every single person, regardless of photon reflectivity of their skin, that's what Terence McKenna says, photon reflectivity. Every single person right now has to look at like, what are you afraid to say? And why are you afraid to say it? And who is making you afraid? And these are important questions. Yeah. These are important. Like, why would anyone make you afraid to speak? What's that?
Yeah.
What's that?
That's we got a lot of residual trauma just from seeing heroes get taken down. And I think that did something to us, to where a lot of people became a little bit hesitant. And a lot of that came from a lot of mothers. That's out of a form of protection, because she know that this environment is toxic. So I know how you are. So let me make sure I program you early. Don't raise your hand. Don't raise your mouth. Don't even look them in the eye. Whatever they tell you to do, keep your head down and keep moving. Now, on one end, somebody might think like, oh, that's like making them weak. It's like, nah, actually, this is the only way I know how to love you and keep you alive right now. And so now that things aren't exactly like that, we have more freedom, but we still have a lot of people still have that in the back of their head. Like, but this is how it's been for so long. It's almost like it's already in you, starting off where you're hesitant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not as baby, because you know you're free then, but once you get that programming, it completely puts you down a little bit.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're off the map. That's the problem, because it's like we're all like every single person's understanding of how to be. You know, you listen to fucking cops. Number one, like it's a fucking cop. It's the cops. They're the law. It's the law. It's the cops. But then you start realizing, like, actually, it's a private security force. It's a security force that's kind of like you'll know. Like somebody made this great point, which is like they found somebody who burned a police car by going to their Etsy and then to their Instagram, and they were like, if the cops can find a person who burned a police car by going literally going to their Etsy and then finding their Instagram, they sure as fuck can find out who stole your TV. But they're not doing that because they don't care about your fucking TV. They just come and fill out a piece of paper. And if they did something, that's it. So it's like I think that's like just looking at the general conditioning, man. I'm terrified of fucking cops. I'm scared of them, man. And when I'm around, and they're all like, they know how to. Did you all see Dune? Did you ever see Dune, the movie?
Yeah.
So like, it got roasted, whatever. David Lynch, I think it's great. The book's great, but there are these like, I don't know, priestesses or something called they're called the Bene Gesserit. They're witches, and they have a voice called the control voice. And so in the movie, the way David Lynch did it is like they would just be like, sit down, and you couldn't help but sit down because of the control voice. But that's what cops use. That's what they use on us. You know, like if you get pulled over, they use this weird, like they use like all this like very studied control psychology. The way they touch you, you know, like they like the way they pull you. If they you know what I mean? It's all studied. They've all learned.
When they pulled me over, I know that cops come on the passenger side in California. They come on the passenger side, so I was ready for them to come on the passenger side. But another guy came on the driver's side, so I was like, okay, and I rolled my window down too. they're talking to me. It's like, hey, buddy, mind rolling down your back windows? And I was like, okay, roll down my back windows. And then he was like, well, pulled you over. Smells like weed in the car. You got weed in the car? And I was like, in the back seat, like in a bag closed up. And he was like, okay, well, why don't you come out? Why don't you come out so we can talk? And I'm like, and for me, it's like in this moment, I can refuse, right? Because apparently that's my right as an American citizen, maybe. But, if I refuse, all I know is that's the path leading to death.
That's right.
But if I comply, that's maybe death. So I'm gonna go with maybe death instead of like certain. So I'm going to like get out of the car, but he's pulling at my handle, like pulling and agitated that the door is locked. He's like, come on.
There you go.
He's trying to unlock my door. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, man. I'm coming out. And as I come out, he grabs my wrist.
There you go.
Why did you do that?
Yeah. That's the power grab. That weird underhanded grasp of the wrist. They train for that. They teach them to do that. And here's the pathetic thing. Here's how I know that. You know how I know that? Not by getting fucking yanked around by cops. The reason I know that is because I was at a show. I was at one of Rogan's shows, and there was a guy came up to me who had an FBI badge on. And I just assumed I was busted. I didn't even know for what, but I'm like, they got me. There's so many things, and like but he did the power grab on me, and he like pulled me close to him, and he's like, just some of us on this side of things like what y'all are talking about. It was really cool because it was like the FBI being like, we're not all fucks. But like, also, you power grab me, motherfucker. You didn't have to grab me like that. Like, why did you power grab me?
Right.
They train. It's BDS. It's BDSM 101, man. It's like bark orders, grab this, like get you all dislocated and shit. They know your adrenaline's up. They know and you know what else they know? They know that this might be one of the last moments of your fucking life. Which is why anytime this shit happens, it doesn't even, it matters if there's justice and if these cops go to jail. But the signal has been sent. The signal has been sent, hasn't it? It's already been sent. And what's the signal? Submit or die. That's the signal. Man, and that's some heavy duty shit. Shit. Submit or maybe die. We might just accidentally kill you. I can't say I'm not going to, but you don't know. Maybe this is going to be the last thing you do.
Oh, God.
Yeah, man. Submit or die.
Me a little bit there. They sent the signal off. Like, it reminds me of the fucking Watchmen with the Cyclops thing, man. Like just fucking like put the sign up, and then all of a sudden everything's back to normally scheduled programs. But they sent the signal out with.
That's a signal. Wow. Every time it happens, it's a signal, and it says submit or die. I think with Floyd in this case, it was like the reason it was even more powerful is it's like, and not that much more, but it's like he did everything right. He didn't run. He didn't jerk. He didn't make any, you know what I mean? They just suffocated it. So that's just saying like, you know what? Like you're saying, and then you might die. But what's that going to do? The effect is it produces high levels of adrenaline. All your cortisol is going to be released when you get pulled over. What are you going to be doing now when you get pulled over if you're black? Well, you're going to shake, aren't you? You're going to shake. Your hands are going to shake. How do they not? You've seen the videos. You know what's going to happen. You know what happens when I get pulled over? I shake a little bit, but not that much. It's kind of a novelty to me, man, to be honest. If I get pulled over, I'm really not thinking I'm going to get murdered. Yeah. But if you get pulled over, you're probably going to start shaking. And then if you're shaking, it's like, so you seem a little nervous. What's going on? Why are you shaking? Now that's probable cause. Well, they were shaking. I thought maybe they were on speed or something. So it's like, now I can search your fucking car because you're shaking a little bit. You seem a little, what's going on? You seem disoriented. It's like, well, I'm trembling because you kill you've been killing people like me, especially in LA. So fuck, man. Now what have they done? They've just, this is what they say about marijuana. Marijuana, we know at this point, it doesn't do shit to hurt you. It's like tea. You get high, but hey, I smelled a flower in your car. He's literally saying, is that the smell of flowers?
Right.
Like a demon. Imagine if you had roses. Oh, do I smell roses in your car? I might kill you for that. That's the world we're in. I think it's important to realize that is the world we're in. It's not another world. How do you not get angry about that? Yeah. How do you not get angry? Is the real how do you not get angry?
Realize, well, no, I was gonna say some, add some philosophy to it, but we got to be human at the same time, man. I've been angry about it. It's happened to me a few times, and being in Alabama, when you get pulled over on a street and there's nothing around you but trees, and you just lost your phone service. It was scary, man. I remember my first time driving to Mississippi to visit my grandmother for the first time because I didn't grow up with my dad. So, I meet her, we have a great time. I'm on my way back. So it's a 4.5-hour drive from her place to my place in Alabama. So there's this long, skinny highway for like maybe 50 miles straight, just one lane, and nothing but woods and nothing else. In the middle of Mississippi. So I'm going 100 because I don't want to be back here that long.
Yeah.
But then I see this car trailing me for like 30 minutes. Well, for like 10 minutes at first. And I'm nervous. I'm like, okay, why is this car? Every time I speed up, it'll speed up. Every time I slow down, it slows down. I'm like, oh no, I'm being followed by somebody. I can't tell who it is. So I speed up because at least if I can get to somewhere where there's like another door or open land, I'll be okay. So 20 minutes later, they're trailing me. Then after like altogether 30 minutes, whoop, 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 the lights come on. This whole time it was a cop.
All right.
Typing in my license plate, trying to see who I was, where I came from. Do we need to take him down? All of this stuff. And so I panicked. So this is what I did. So I gotta do some acting today. So they turned the lights on. I pulled over. I opened the door and I just hung out of the car. I acted like I passed out.
What?
So the officer walked up to the car. How old am I at the time? I'm going into my last year of undergrad. So I'm like 20, maybe 21. So I freaked out. I'm like, man, I can't get another ticket. I don't want to go to jail, and I don't want something else to happen. So let me act like I'm super sick. So if I'm sick, you probably
what? This is crazy.
I opened the door and I just hang out of the car like this, like just droop. And he was like, hey, sir, are you okay? And I said, sir, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to talk like I couldn't breathe. So I said my heart was hurt and I just needed to get to the nearest hospital or like a gas station to get some water. So he actually, and there was a white cop, he was actually nice about it. He said, well, do you want me to call an ambulance for it? I said, no, don't do that. I don't have the money for it. So, and he's like, well, would you rather check or, your life, that's more important, right? I was like, damn, that's a good point. So I said, well, hey, can you take me to the gas station? So he said, okay, sure. So he gets in his car, I get in my car, and he tells me to go in front of him. So as I'm driving, I'm like, oh, man, I got to keep this up.
Yes.
I got to keep the story up. So, all right. So drive like 15 minutes. We finally see a gas station up to the right. I pull in. I go, I don't need no water. I buy it anyway. So I buy the water. I drink it. I come outside. I'm still acting like I'm still like hurting. And the cop walks up to me. He said, okay, so he said, are you all right? I said, yeah, I think I'm feeling a little bit better. Like, It's just thought I was dying, so I needed to get somewhere. He said, I understand that. I'm still gonna give you a ticket, but you were doing 160. I'm not gonna give you reckless driving. I'm gonna say you were only going 80. So to bring your bill. So I got something out of it, maybe more than I could have if I was in those woods by myself. But the fact that I had to go through all of that just to like protect myself. But it
You got balls of steel. That's crazy.
You got balls the size of my balls.
Jesus Christ. That's madness. That's crazy. That's such I can't believe that worked. And that's the other thing fucking cops do, man. That's the other thing. It's like, okay, but if you really look at what you were doing nothing. Nothing would have happened. You were on the road alone. And then when they give you the ticket, they figure out a way to make it seem like they're doing you a favor. It's like, look, I know I pulled you over for verifiably nobody was in danger. You're driving down the interstate at 100 miles per hour. Who gives a fuck? Just, I'm going to do that on the way home. But I'm going to take it easy on you and give you an $80 ticket. And also, I didn't kill you tonight, right? So I'm the hero. I'm the hero. Right? It's so fucked up. It's like, no, you didn't do anything except inconvenience me for the state. Nobody was in danger. We're not supposed to say this shit, by the way. Like, you're not even supposed to say this. This is how deep the conditioning is, I mean, It's so deep, you're not even supposed to point out the obvious, which is like, you're just a human in a weird outfit with a gun. That's pretty much it, man. That's what you are. Like, you aren't some real authority at all. You're just wearing an outfit. Like, and the laws you're enforcing are bullshit most of the time. Not all the time. Right. I'm not saying we don't need some authority figure to come in, because people go fucking nuts. Have you seen those videos of people on PCP, ripping like eating people's faces off and shit? I'm not gonna, like, what am I gonna do about that? If we get a face-eating PCP person around us, friends, we're in trouble. If you're looking for me to stop it, we're fucked. So I think there is some, need for a warrior class that, like, is willing to, like, get in between us and the PCP people. That's, I think it's unrealistic to imagine that's not the world we're in. I mean, I've been to Burning Man, people freak out, but, like, clearly we don't need somebody to arrest us for flowers in the backseat of our car. Like, that's not helping anybody. Who does that help? And they say Nixon, have you heard this shit? That the reason marijuana is illegal is because Nixon hated the hippies and the Black Power movement. And that's it. He just wanted to have an excuse to arrest people because he couldn't arrest them for thought crimes. So he invented a thing that wasn't bad, and we're still haunted by it to this day. That's crazy. Like, think about it. If he pulled you over and we lived in a normal world, he would have had zero reason to do anything, because you had a substance in the back that's not just harmless, but seems to, like, fight cancer.
Right.
Help you chill out when you got some stress going on. Like you can't, come on, like, you can't drive on weed. Shut the fuck up. Anybody can drive on weed. Any adult should be able to drive on weed.
Period. I was thinking about just to kind of bring the philosophy into this.
Oh yeah, philosophy.
the Kabbalion talks a lot about law, and there are just laws in general of the universe that you cannot escape. Mm-hmm. And one of those laws it talks about is cause and effect, and how you'll never be able to escape cause and effect. Like, any effect is definitely because of a cause,
right?
And anything that you think is to chance is just an unrecognized cause. It's just an unrecognized cause and effect. So therefore, there is no chance. It's just like earlier, right? Like, you're like, I'm lucky for this and that. It's like, no, you're not lucky. Right. It's been laid down. It's been a cause and effect for every move in your life.
Right.
Yeah. So I try to think of, like, the cause and effect. going all the way back. I mean, like, let's take it back before slavery in a way of like, you know, like what is the cause and effect of this whole thing? Like, how do we get here in 2020, cause and effect wise?
We're in the twilight zone.
Cause and effect. Well, I think, you know what? I think that's a great place to stop, because that's such a heavy question.
That would give us.
You know what I mean? Like, and what's really embarrassing about my psychology is I was about to answer it. Well, let me tell you. You see, it's such a heavy question. You know, I think that's a good thing to think about, cause and effect. I mean, if y'all are into that, that's a good thing, I think, to adjourn on and to contemplate this week, because it's like cause and effect seems wrapped up in justice somehow, and there's something in there that, like, I don't know. I think it's a great thing to, like, we have to think about. I have to think about that, man. That's heavy.
Well, read that part of the Kabbalion, and let's convene next week.
Do you remember which part that is? Because I only got in the first few chapters of the Kabbalion, and then I stopped reading it.
Okay, baby, I'll be with you in just a second, okay?
So I can hear the TV. I can't sleep.
My daughter says she can't sleep. Whatever.
My kid's still at the age where he's in a crib, so like that we're not in the place of like being invaded, like the baby's in a cage essentially.
It's coming, man, and when it does, watch the fuck out.
All right.
I know.
It is in the 7 Hermetic principles.
Okay.
It's the 6th Hermetic principle, the principle of cause and effect. It made me think about that, though, like thinking about what we've been talking about, and just, okay, if this is all cause and effect, like how do we trace this?
Yeah, like it's like fundamental cause. You're talking about predestination. You're talking about like supercomputers being able to calculate exactly what we're going to do. You're talking about fucking Skinner boxes. And have you gotten into Jaron Lanier at all? You know who that is?
No, who's that?
Oh, he's got a great book called I think it's 12 Reasons to Delete Your Social Media Right Now. He was one of the original Silicon Valley dudes, and his premise is just like, these people unapologetically have used B.F. Skinner's behaviorist psychology to produce digital Skinner boxes that we're all completely addicted to, that are, you know, modulating our behavior in ways that we don't fully understand to benefit corporations, and that it's only going to get worse. So just don't even look at it. Don't look at Twitter. Don't look at Facebook. Don't look at any of it, because you're just being programmed. He like gives this very convincing argument for like just vanishing from the internet altogether. It's pretty cool.
God,
but
I'm looking at it out like, fuck. Oh man,
I know.
Got homework to do then. Okay,
so we'll reconvene next Friday, right?
Friday.
Man, y'all are the best. This is like a highlight. Yeah, same. I'm learning so much, and this feels so intensely great.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Thank you so much for this, man. I appreciate it.
Likewise. Thank you for your time, y'all, and I'll see you Friday. We'll reconvene on Friday.
Bet. All right, y'all.
Bye.